Our story begins as the Israelites leave the Red Sea behind, but soon face the harsh realities of desert life. In Exodus 15:22, we read, "So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water. After 3 days without water, they arrived at Marah, but the water there was bitter. The people murmured against Moses, asking, 'What shall we drink?' Exodus 15:24. But God, in His mercy, provided a solution. Moses cried out to the Lord, and God showed him a tree. When Moses threw the tree into the bitter water, it became sweet, allowing the Israelites to drink. There, God made a statute and an ordinance, testing His people's faith. Exodus 15:25. The journey continued, and soon the Israelites faced a new challenge: hunger. In the wilderness of sin, food became scarce. God responded to their needs by sending manna, a miraculous bread from heaven, and quails to provide sustenance. Exodus 16:13-15. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, 'It is manna,' for they wist not what it was. This miraculous food, called manna, appeared every morning except the Sabbath. The people were instructed to gather it daily, enough for that day. Exodus 16:16-18 tells us, "This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, and omer for every man, according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tents." And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. And when they did, mete it with an omer. He that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. Those who gathered much didn't have more than they needed, and those who gathered little didn't suffer from lack. God ensured that everyone had just enough, showing His provision and care for His people. This also teaches us that God provides for our needs, and we do not need to hoard or worry about having more than we need. He knows our every need and provides just in time. On the 6th day, God gave special instructions. He commanded the Israelites to gather twice as much manna on the 6th day, because the 7th day was the Sabbath, a day of rest. In Exodus 16:22-23 we read, "And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said, Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe. And that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning." God had made provision for the people to rest on the 7th day, without needing to gather food. Exodus 16:24-26 further reveals, "And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade. And it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it. But on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none." This act of resting on the Sabbath is a holy commandment that demonstrates the importance of trusting in God's provision. On the 7th day, there was no manna to gather, but God ensured that the manna they collected on the 6th day did not spoil, teaching the people that God will provide for their needs even when they rest. However, some people didn't listen to God's instructions and tried to gather manna on the Sabbath. As a result, Exodus 16:27-30 tells us, "And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day, for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. This moment was a test of the people's faith and obedience. God was teaching them to trust him, not only for their daily needs, but also to trust his wisdom in setting aside a day for rest and worship. Exodus 16:31 tells us that the Israelites called the manna manna, which means what is it, because they had never seen anything like it before. It became their main sustenance for the 40 years they wandered in the wilderness. Exodus 16:35 tells us that the Israelites ate manna for 40 years until they came to the land of Canaan, the promised land. In Exodus 17, the Israelites encounter yet another challenge: the Amalekites, a fierce enemy. After the people had traveled to Rephidim, they again found themselves without water. This time God told Moses to strike a rock at Horeb, and when he did, water flowed to quench their thirst. Exodus 17:5-6. This miracle demonstrated God's continuing care for their needs. But soon, the Amalekites came to fight Israel. Moses sent Joshua to lead the battle, while he went up on a hill, holding the staff of God in his hands. As long as Moses held his hands up, the Israelites were winning. But when his hands grew tired and dropped, the Amalekites began to prevail. In Exodus 17:12 we read, But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on that side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. Together, Aaron and Hur supported Moses, ensuring that his hands remained raised, and the Israelites won the battle. Exodus 17:13 says, And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. After the victory, Moses built an altar and named it, The Lord is my banner. Exodus 17:15, acknowledging that the victory was not through their own strength, but through God's power. 1. Trust in God's provision. Whether we gather much or little, God provides for our needs. We are to trust that he knows what we need and will give us enough, no more and no less. 2. Obedience to God's instructions. Following God's commands, especially when it comes to rest and the Sabbath, is important. God gave his people the Sabbath to refresh and reconnect with him. 3. God provides even when we rest. On the Sabbath, when the people were commanded to rest, God still ensured they had enough by providing extra manna on the 6th day. This teaches us that we can trust God to take care of our needs, even when we pause and rest in him. 4. Unity and support in times of struggle. Just as Moses needed Aaron and Hur to help him in the battle with the Amalekites, we too need the support of others in times of trial. We are not meant to face struggles alone. As the Israelites faced trials and victories, so too are we called to rely on God's strength and the support of one another. Vocabulary session. 1. Murmured, complained or grumbled quietly. Example. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? 2. Statute, a formal written law. Example. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. 3. Proved is tested or tried. Example. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. 4. Wist, knew, or was aware where. Example. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. 5. Smite, to strike or hit forcefully. Example. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. This journey from the Red Sea to Sinai was filled with trials and miracles, each designed to strengthen the Israelites' faith and prepare them for their covenant with God.